What is up, guys? Rambling Collector back here with a new Star Wars book ramble for all of you Star Wars fans who follow my channel. And today, I'm going to be talking about the Star Wars BattleFront piece, Twilight Company, the first in a duology of books. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. When I first heard about this, I didn't think too much of it. But as you all know from my recent Warhammer reviews, I've actually become more fond of military-style fiction, especially those that involve the soldiers on the front lines of a war zone. There's just something about it that is really compelling and action-packed that grabs my attention. And this coming from a Star Wars book is what really surprised me. But for right now, let's get right to it. So to start off with a little bit of history. I honestly feel like this book, made by Alexander Freed, was made to serve as a companion piece that you could read along with as you were playing the game Star Wars Battlefront. But in all honesty with you guys, if they had actually made a campaign-based story for Star Wars Battlefront, I feel like this story would have been the one that we would have followed. So, to give a little context here, Twilight Company follows the 61st Infantry of the Rebel Alliance, better known as Twilight Company. Now these guys are the ones who do the most dangerous jobs for the Rebel Alliance, and they have the most highest casualties, but also the biggest success rate, no matter what mission they are on. So in the process, this actually occurs possibly a few months after the first Death Star, so after the end of A New Hope. But what I like about this is that this actually builds around Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, because right in the middle of this book, we actually see a soldier's perspective of the Battle of Hoth. And needless to say, I actually loved the different perspective from these frontline troops as they are confronting these massive walking tanks. And just the thought of that feeling of hopelessness as you are directing all your firepower on these massive armored transports, and they're not even leaving a scratch. That sheer desperation to at least have all your allies escape. That need to survive in the face of overwhelming odds was absolutely mesmerizing to read. So, the main perspectives that we get here in this book, one of them is from Hazram Namir, a trooper who serves in the Twilight Company, who is not as idealistic as many of the rebel troops. He knows about the main heroes like Leia Organa and Luke Skywalker and all of them, but for him, he's just a guy who actually enjoys the fight that Twilight Company provides. Apparently, Namir actually grew up dealing with multiple gang wars on a backwater world where he would work for one cult or another as a hired gun or trooper. And him having the chance to join Twilight Company allowed him to experience a better fight and leave his homeworld behind. So I actually like this guy's perspective in that he's not an idealistic person looking to fight for freedom in the galaxy. He just enjoys the chance to fight. And his hidden thoughts of how he wishes the war sometimes would just go on for eternity was an interesting perspective, to say the least. And his interactions with the company, how he feels like an outsider, and yet he feels closer to these men and women that he fights alongside with than any of the gangs that he fought alongside with on his homeworld of Crucible. That is what really amazes me. It provides a unique perspective, and honestly, it made me actually like his character, how he just doesn't fool around. He doesn't have that idealism. But some other perspectives that we get is from a common stormtrooper and how she views the Empire as the best chance for the galaxy. How she is just a loyal stormtrooper trying to do her job, and yet she also realizes that the life that she signed on for isn't all it's cracked up to be. There is not a whole lot of glory when you're just down in the dirt or your comrades are dying around you. And whatever scars and scratches and burns that you deal with, you will be hurt and you will see the ugly side of life. That kind of realization was pretty shocking to me, to be honest with you, and yet despite that, this stormtrooper, she remains loyal to the Empire, whilst also seeing the horrors of civil war for the first time. But I do like how this builds along with Twilight Company visiting multiple different worlds, and especially in the latter half of the book, after the Battle of Hoth, Twilight reaches its point where it is at its lowest, where troops are planning to desert because of the simple loss of their commanding officer, which results in the major loss of morale. And seeing that was really fascinating to me. How, if you cut off the head of a loyal commanding officer, how the troops sometimes will stumble and fall, and they'll even have thoughts of desertion. Because when it comes down to it, you might find that one commanding officer who keeps the troops together and who always inspires them to keep moving. And yet once he's gone, you see the aftermath, how sometimes the troop can fall apart. And that is what nearly happens with Twilight Company until the character of Chalice, or Governor Chalice, who is a character that they took way early on in the book in one of their earlier campaigns. She actually inspires them to keep moving and gives them a goal to reach for, which results in them doing a massive hit-and-run campaign as they make their way to their final destination of the Kuat shipyards, which was a major target for the Rebel Alliance, as well as a major supplier of starships for the Empire. And I gotta tell you guys, that whole entire time I was reading through the campaign as they were slowly inching their way towards Kuwait was amazing to behold, and also terrifying to think about, because you have these troops moving back and forth relentlessly to multiple planets, doing mostly hit-and-run campaigns to stretch the defenses of one world in order to maximize damage, as well as to spread the defenses thin. And I actually liked that military tactic that they were showing. Do multiple hit-and-runs, decrease the defenses, and stretch the resources thin while leaving the major target unprotected. That was actually a fascinating military tactic. And some of the horrors that they describe, from digging underground mines to take down underground and transport ways for supplies on what amounts to a massive warehouse planet, to dealing with one planet that has multiple space stations surrounding it, or stations in general, where they're surrounded in a planet full of what looks like liquid silver, to essentially dealing with biological warfare on another planet. The horrors and the back and forth campaigns really grips you and makes you feel for these guys as they are dealt with some of the worst, dealing with multiple wounds and casualties along the way. But in the end, it all culminates in one final siege battle on the planet of Sullust, where they've just taken out a major refinery on this planet, and we actually see more of the perspective of the Imperial troops with SP-475, as she's coming to terms with the fact that war has come to her home planet, to her home city, with rebel insurgents attacking every which way, as well as a major refinery also being taken. And the way they described this siege battle on Sullust was absolutely amazing to see. Tactics on both sides, with the Empire just full on sending everything they had against these troops, while the rebels are using siege tactics like trenches, mines, mortars, everything that they have at their disposal, they are using it, including using lava to trap the Imperials in one way or another with them. That was amazing to see, and it gripped my attention the entire time. And I feel like for those of you who are also military fiction nuts or want something, a different perspective from a Star Wars book, I highly would recommend picking this up. So, for my concluding thoughts, I would definitely give Star Wars Battlefront Twilight Company a solid 10 out of 10 for engaging storytelling and a new fascinating perspective altogether in the world of Star Wars, because I don't think it's very often that we get the perspectives of a person who is not a Jedi, not a Sith, and instead of just an average person dealing with the front lines of a civil war. And if I ever find more books like that, I might actually check them out. If you all know any other books like that, please leave a comment down below and let me know, and I will check them out. And hell, I might even do a video review for them. As of right now, I cannot think of any other Star Wars books to recommend at this time, but if you are a Star Wars fan or someone who enjoys a bit of military Frontlines style fiction, I would definitely recommend picking up Twilight Company. It was an amazing read, and you will not regret it. Thank you all for listening. This is Ramble and Collector signing off, and Happy New Year to all of you.